Dallas Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing?
We're doing okay. I'm sure you can understand that, as opposed to great as usual. We were talking about this at the beginning of the show. Was there a moment during the game where you just had to sit back and be like, all right, well, it's not going to be our day?
Well, it probably started to feel that way after we blocked the punt, got them 3 and out, made great plays on defense, playing fast, and then blocked the punt, got done what we wanted to get done, and then to lose that ball on a tough rule. I mean, it's a tough rule we have there where you get penalized for making a great play, and it's just a hard one to swallow. You were starting to think, starting to wonder if this just not everything's it can go wrong, will go wrong. So I'd say that was the first time you started letting it creep in a little bit. But still, we had a lot of ball to play at that point. But you were certainly starting to feel that way a little bit at that point.
Let's go ahead and dive in on that part of it. You are on the competition committee. Do you want to try and take a look at the way that that's done and say, you know what, maybe we should adjust that one just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something to look at again. I mean, it's never an intention, in the NFL to penalize a good, to have something bad happen against making a good play, and obviously a block kick, and then, especially that particular block kick. Unfortunately, we all remember the Leon Lett one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, that one's a little more, hey, you got to coach it up, and you got to know where it is and that type of thing. But obviously that one's a tough one right there in the traffic, 5 yards downfield. But, once it crosses that line of scrimmage, then that is the rule. And, certainly it'll come up, and we'll discuss it at length again and go back through the history of it and why we have it in. And, is there any reason to discuss a change in the rule? Obviously we were going through different machinations. Should it at least have to go past the first down marker or, those type of things. But all those are things that you discuss in the off season. It was certainly applied the correct way, and we have to accept that.
Stephen Jones here on the KNC Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan. Stephen, after something like that, when you look at kind of what happened, what's your take on why this team didn't look like the team we've been watching for the last 6 games or even 7 games in a row?
Let's start with giving the Broncos credit. I mean, they came ready to go. Vic Fangio is one of the top defensive minds in this league. Knew he was going to be prepared for our offense, and certainly, did a great job of really limiting us to until those last 2 drives when the game was pretty much out of reach. Had really, they did a great job of defending us and taking away, most of what we do well. And, obviously we had some things in there where I think we can execute and play better. I was listening to Dak last night. He was first to say it wasn't probably his best game. We obviously, our receivers had some drops, and, that can happen. You don't want it all to happen in the same game, but, obviously, they got pressure on us well. We were, did some moves in our offensive line that, they probably were keying on, and, you got hats off to them. And then Teddy Bridgewater did a great job of moving their football team. They did a good job running the football. So you just got to give credit where credit's due. They came in with an edge and ready to go. And unfortunately, we didn't execute or play our best, really, in any of the 3 phases.
Stephen, when you mentioned the offensive line, do you feel like you're going to go forward with Steele moving to the other side and Lyle staying where he's staying, or is that something this week to look at and maybe think of what might be a better option for us?
Well, I'm sure they'll, as I said, I know they're looking at going back in there as we speak. They'll, certainly learn from this game. We'll use it as a great opportunity to teach and learn from, and then we'll start to look to the Falcons and see what's the best way to go attack the Falcons in terms of improving on how we played on, as I said, in all 3 phases.
What's a typical timeline? And you might just be like, well, there's no such thing as typical when it comes to injuries. What's a typical time in the week when we might get a good sense for, how Tyron's looking going forward?
Well, you certainly like to get a practice in if you can. I mean, there's exceptions to that, but you'd like to see him get a practice in this week and be able to play. But certainly hadn't ruled that out. It's certainly a possibility that he could get that done. He had a good week last week, and hopefully he'll improve upon that the first part of this week. And if he can get a practice in, then we'll certainly have him ready to go against the Falcons. But that's yet to be determined.
Would Tyron fit under the quality of somebody who could potentially be an exception to that rule, though?
Well, obviously, he's a veteran player who's played this position for many years at a very high level in this league. So, yes, but at the same time, the injury can play into that too. And a lot of times, it's just hard to simulate going 110% in the game versus, the tempo you have in practice. So, we'll just factor all that in, not unlike we've done with other players in the past. A Dak a couple of weeks ago, it's just, we're going to have to get out there and see how he's doing and how he's responding and make a decision based on how we feel like he could get through a game.
Stephen, I think the Cowboys fan base and us media guys are all kind of split on this a little bit. I like the aggressive nature of going for it on fourth down. Some other of my coworkers do not like it so much. I'm kind of curious. Whenever McCarthy's known for being aggressive in this way, do you want him to continue to be that way? Do you like the fourth down attempts?
Well, we are aggressive by nature, and so you got one of the best, if not the best, offense in the league, and certainly support that. I mean, that's you got to believe in your guys, believe in your team, and really feel like with the offensive weapons that we have, and the versatility that we have, that feel like we can make that. Obviously, we've struggled some with that this year. Our short yardage game hadn't quite been, where we want it to be, but we certainly got some time to right that ship and get it to where we can make those 4th and 1s. I mean, you're obviously seeing around the league, if you watch, and I know you do, you look at games around the league, and these coaches are more and more aggressive on these on these 3rd down, 4th and shorts, especially 4th and shorts, and the midfield on in. You see a lot of aggressiveness going on with, how productive these offenses are. So I know it's real easy to second guess when when you don't make them, and I certainly understand that, but we're very supportive of Mike and the decisions he's making.
And I don't want this part to sound like a second guess. I'm just curious, any insight you could provide for the fan base. We're definitely interested. Is you talk about, the week before against the Vikings, obviously you have to use some caution with Dak. And then there's about 6 minutes left to go in the game yesterday, and it's 30-0, and Dak is still out there. What were your thoughts on that, or can you walk me through the process of it? It seemed as though the game was over at that point.
Well, all these guys, you teach them all the time not to quit. And that's in every coach's vocabulary. That's in every player. His engine, his heart, his makeup, that's Dak Prescott. And the last thing he wants to do is give up on something. So there's obviously a fine line you walk there between putting the player in harm's way and taking his, you don't want to wave the white flag out there. You want to battle to the end. We've had a lot of games where a lot of people would think you're out of it. Not a lot, but have had games where people, last year's Atlanta game, where people thought you might be out of it. Certainly 30-0 is quite the hurdle, but it's a competitive group in there, and certainly we've everybody's competitive juices were flowing, and this team's not a team that's going to say, hey, we'll just chalk this one up to the L and move on to the next week. That's why I think the makeup of this team is really, really good, and I think we'll rebound. And a lot of what you saw out there late is, guys fighting till the end, and you want to keep that in their football character, and so that becomes the tough decision you have to make there.
Stephen, yesterday, and I'm kind of curious how you handle it after a loss like that, where you're kind of like, well, not our kind of day, but I still got to take some of this aggression out. I just lowered the goal down about 8 feet and went and dunked basketballs on my kid all day to make him, we kind of got into it a little bit. How do you handle that? Do you loosen the tie up, have a third finger of whiskey? How do you take a game like that?
It's one where it's difficult to lose one like that. And of course, especially, sometimes with second guesses, it's harder to lose a close one than it is one where they, like I said, handed to the Broncos. They showed up and kicked our butt. And, but it's way we really handle it is you just go through it and see where things could have, where you could have changed it and things would have been totally different. And, you want to improve and see where we can be better. And, you're just not going to change the outcome. So you get in there and you start to go over the game in your head and knowing that you're going to be watching the tape the next day and seeing where we can improve. And, there's not a lot of good answers on those things. I will say this, that the evening's over quickly. So you kind of go through it and there's not a lot to say and you kind of head to the house and maybe try to get your mind on something else for a while.
I'm really disappointed.
I like your idea. I may go out and lower my basketball and dunk a few times.
I was really hoping you were about to tell us about a secret pickup game between you and Jerry or something like that. Now, one thing to go along with that, what were your thoughts about the seemingly large contingent of Broncos fans at AT&T Stadium? We're used to the Cowboys, wherever they go, having almost a pseudo home field advantage everywhere. What were your thoughts about a heavy group of blue and orange out in AT&T Stadium?
Well, they've got a great fan base, the Broncos do, and every now and then, you'll have that. Certainly Kansas City's been known to do that before. They're close. Green Bay can travel. Pittsburgh, you have sometimes a group of fans that will travel and want to come see what AT&T Stadium's all about. And, that's just can happen on occasion. In general, our fans keep their tickets and they show up and they're so supportive. And, the ones that were there, which were quite a few of them, it was just more the other team than usual, did a great job of hanging in there with us. And, just feel good about what we're going to do in the future. And we've got to learn from this one, but put it in our rearview mirror and move forward.
I think one of the things that we discussed this morning is if you would have told all of us at the beginning of the year you'd be 6-2, we would all be pumped about that. I know the way it went from 6-1 to 6-2 is not positive, but how do you feel about what as we get to the halfway point of the season?
I do. I feel really good about this football team. I think it was one of those games where, you had some things that just didn't go your way, and we weren't able to overcome it. You got to give the Broncos credit. They came with a great defensive game plan, a great offensive game plan, and they kicked our butt in all three phases. So you got to give them credit, and we've got to certainly learn from this and go back to the drawing board and improve. I really like our football team. We've got a lot of guys that are going to be coming back as the season goes that are really good football players. We got, of course, we missed Tyron yesterday. That was a tough one to have him out, and get Michael Gallup back more than likely this week. And,
I think we lost him there.
Yeah. All right.
It's all right.
Well,
That's
okay.
okay.
Game and move forward.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Stephen. Appreciate all the insight as always. Love talking with you on Mondays. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you.